It is 8 o'clock, time for our pre-agenda meeting to go over the business that we're going to conduct at our 9 o'clock meeting. I will call the meeting to order. Invocation is by Commissioner Antonio Williams. Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Chris Gurley. And we'll have approval of the minutes. Discussion on adjustments to the agenda. Are we going to have any adjustments that you know of? Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. We would like to add under, after consent agenda, under new business, funding agreement for Fremont Elementary, and Carol will be passing this out.
Where's that?
Is that under,
He wants to add.
We would put that, we would add that under new business. There's not a new business section, but it'd be
okay.
right after consent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
okay, since we're adding this and it's just been handed out to us, I want to take just a minute and let everybody read it right quick.
Ms. Honeycutt, is this just our part here? Has this been approved?
This
Just
has
for
not
us to
been
approve?
approved. There's been a couple of drafts that have kind of gone back between staff as far as trying to come up with a signed agreement. And this is what we're recommending from staff that we send back to the Board of Education.
I'm almost ready to. Now. You know what I mean?
Has anybody had time to read it? Okay, the staff has recommended that we add this on a new business.
Right after consent.
Okay, well, I need to, Mr. Parker, can we get a nod or something to see if we want to move forward with this? I mean, I want the full board support in even adding this to the agenda.
If it's added, you have to do that when you go in for adjustment. The meeting.
Okay, then we can discuss it then. I mean,
Well, you can discuss it now.
well, what's the feelings of the board on adding this to the agenda?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
You good? Okay, all right. We'll move forward.
I just have a question. Who will the representatives be from the Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners?
That can change. I think the thought process was there was an original facilities committee that was made up that when we went over there originally to talk about the construction manager at risk, but it's up to the board and the chair on who they would like to serve on that committee. For the Board of Education, I'm not sure.
And I guess, what we can send this to them and then see what their reaction is.
And I appreciate the board's understanding with this. We did not want to send anything to them that did not have the blessing of this board before they received it.
Got to be quite frank and honest about it. Excuse me. Our staff and Ms. Tunnicut's been sending emails or whatever back and forth with Dr. Lewis. I've had discussion with the chairman of the school board, and it's time for us to either decide, oh, we're going to build this school or we're not going to build it. I mean, because right now we're not making any headway. I mean, they're basically set on their ways in some of the things, and we're set on ours, and we'll send this to them and see how it comes back. And if not, my recommendation is for the two full boards to sit down and have at it and make a decision, because at the rate we're going right now, we're just spinning our wheels. And that's just my opinion. If anybody else has got an opinion, now's the time to speak. Okay, we will add this to the agenda now.
Then after discussion and adjustment of agenda, we do have special presentations. Number one is motion to adopt resolution 2021-12, a resolution awarding service weapon to Captain Sean Harris. And then number two, motion to adopt resolution 2021-14, a resolution requesting naming the North Carolina 222 I-795 bridge in honor of Mayor Andy Evans. And number three, motion to adopt resolution 2021-15, a resolution in support of House Bill 921. And a copy of those resolutions are in your agenda packet. No
Mr.
question.
Chairman, if I could inquire.
Yes, sir.
This House bill, has that been approved already? Has that been passed?
I don't think it's been passed. I think it's in committee now. But I think Representative Smith has asked for support on this moving forward.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have some reservations in regards to this board endorsing bills prior to their passage, because it almost appears as if we are injecting ourselves into that. We generally go through the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners for joint resolutions of support and that type of thing. I don't want us to stub our toe here by getting ourselves in any battle that may or may not be up there at the General Assembly. So I do have some reservations. Am I the only one that would have reservations on that?
I'm not going to say I necessarily had reservations on this one, but we've passed other resolutions that I was not in favor of, and the answer I got was it's just a sheet of paper. And that's not really the answer that I wanted to hear. But I mean, am I not correct? We've,
It's just a sheet of paper.
yeah,
Okay.
but,
Are you saying in essence it has no weight?
That's what he
I'm,
said he
I'm,
was told.
that's why I'm just saying that was told it's just a sheet of paper. But I do, I mean, we've had other resolutions that has come before us that I won't really fond of, that passed, and we've had some that didn't pass. So, I mean, I'm just saying is that if it's just a sheet of paper, why did it even come before us?
Well, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
How does, I don't, there again, I'm still asking questions because I don't know. How do resolutions get put on the agenda or the special presentations? Does it come from anybody? Does it come from a commissioner? Does it?
Commissioner Hardison asked that this be placed on the agenda.
Okay. So a commissioner needs to ask for it to be placed on not just any representative, right?
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, and then also it went through the agenda review
Understand.
as well.
And this House Bill 921, me reviewing it, it resolved a lot of issues with our farmers. It was a neutral bill. It wasn't something that was just going to help the Democratic side of things. It was a neutral bill, and that's what I liked about it. It helped out Democrats, Republicans, Independents. It was a positive bill.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why we can't support the resolution. To me, like you said, if it's just a piece of paper, either we support it or we don't, but how much weight it holds, I don't know when it gets there, but if the bill was already passed, why would we need a resolution to support it? Is my question. It's already passed. I mean, that seems like that would make 0 sense in my opinion. Because it's already passed. I mean, it wouldn't matter whether we support it or not if it's already passed. That's just the way I look at it. So I read the bill also. I think it has a lot of good things in it. I'm in support of it.
Based on the second paragraph, the funds basically are going to come from the Golden Leaf Foundation. Is that correct?
Golden Leaf will administer.
What now?
Golden Leaf will administer the funds.
So where is the money going to come from? Is it come from the state or from the
General-
federal government?
My understanding is the general fund of the state. I don't know if it's money that's been set aside specifically for COVID from the feds, but it's in the general fund of the state.
Got it. Okay.
Well, I mean, since it's been asked to be put on the agenda, I mean, I don't have a problem with leaving it on. Okay.
All right. And then at 9:30 is our public hearing on the budget to receive public comments, on the proposed budget for Wayne, excuse me, for Wayne County for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021. And then this was what was presented to you on May 18th. Also, it does include the changes that we worked on through our 6-hour budget workshop the other week as well. So the changes that were requested by the board to be added to the budget have been included within the budget presentation.
Mr. Hickett, have we had any calls regarding the budget or changes?
No, ma'am, not that I'm aware of. Madam Clerk, have you aware of any calls?
No, we did have one email,
Yeah,
but
one-
I think
Couple
all
emails.
of you got
Yeah.
copies.
I had a couple of calls requesting what time we were going to the public hearing would be taking place.
Right.
But there was only 2 people. So.
And then after the public hearing at 9:30 is the appointment committee.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then after appointment committee is consent agenda, and we'll start with budget amendments, and I'll turn that to Allison.
Okay, your budget amendments begin on page 17 of your agenda. The first one is for the sheriff's office. They are requesting to anticipate and appropriate $2,185.20 in insurance proceeds. For the health department, they are requesting to adjust a program that they have with the Healthy Education, Healthy Communities program. This allows for expenses and salaries not covered in the Smart Start contract, and you'll notice that they are using some of their fund balance, $4,118, and they do have sufficient fund balance in the health department to cover that. For social services, we're requesting to decrease the amount budgeted for the low-income energy assistance program in the amount of $21,077.44. This is an adjustment received from the state and to balance to the total funding authorization for the year. For the health department, they are reallocating line items within the Kresge funds for extra help and professional services. And this is for the United Way program that they are working with United Way for the COVID pandemic. For the health department, they are requesting to move $30,000 from miscellaneous revenues to grant revenues. This is an accounting change. They're realigning the monies to the correct line item.
Question.
Yes, sir.
So they're realigning it to the correct line item. What was it? Why was it put in the wrong line item to start with?
I'm not sure. We receive, the departments submit their budget amendments to us, and we review to make sure the line items that they're adjusting from have sufficient funds, but they are responsible for allocating to the line items that they feel like those grants should belong to. So it says the revenue source that was requested should have been a different revenue source. It should have been grant revenues.
Okay.
For the sheriff's office, they are requesting to anticipate and appropriate $385 in donations, specifically for the sheriff's office. There's another budget amendment to appropriate donations for the sheriff's office in the amount of $500 to go towards office supplies, non-capital computer and equipment. Non-capital furniture, fixtures, and equipment. On page 31 for 911 communications, this is the restricted monies that are in Fund 225. They are requesting to appropriate $20,000 in fund balance for additional, not additional, but to cover the estimated costs for in-house staff. This is a position that is reimbursed by the 911 restricted funds, and they, based on the number of hours and the work they put in, they then invoice to that fund, and we write a check to cover it. And there is sufficient fund balance to cover that out of Fund 225.
These funds are very restricted.
Yes, sir. And Tina does a really good job. She always makes sure that whatever she's requesting, it's going to be approved. She's in close communication with them. For JCPC, or Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, requesting to appropriate the budget for family preservation and adjust the line items. Was this additional revenues, or was this just a reallocation based on what was awarded? Oh, okay. For the library, they're requesting to anticipate and appropriate an additional $3,000. This is an LSTA grant received from the state library for the COVID-19 response. And that one is several pages because the grant is actually behind it, so We're going to skip on to page 41, is your next budget amendment. For the Health Department. This is a request to reverse a prior budget amendment done for Healthy Communities Program in the amount of $7,438.52. So this is reversing a prior budget amendment that you all approved. For the Staff Attorney's Office, they are requesting to anticipate and appropriate additional funds, as you see here. They have revenues listed and expenditures, and this is based on, and this is actually specifically for an execution sale that's being done through the Sheriff's Office. And Andrew is here if you have additional questions about that.
I'd like a little explanation, please.
So this was actually an execution sale. The sheriff is responsible by general statute for execution sales, and that's when you have a judgment creditor who levies on real property, and then they turn around and sell that to satisfy the judgment. So this was completed about 2 weeks ago or so. We usually don't handle many of these. I think since I've been here, we've only had, this is our second one, I believe. So since we're so close to the end of the fiscal year, we just had to increase our revenues because all this money just passes right through our office. And they're very similar to tax foreclosure sales, so that's why I assist the sheriff's office in that.
Okay.
Thank you. Mhm.
Your final budget amendment is for Services on Aging. This is an annual program that's done through Duke Energy, where they receive money, donations to purchase fans for seniors. It's called Operation Fan Relief, and it's in the amount of $657. And that's everything I have for you.
Any additional questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would like one. All these totals here, like your increases, when you have maybe more than one line item, can we get an overall total
Sure.
on the debits and the credits?
Sure, we can change that to have a net decrease and increase if you'd like to see that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
It would be nice.
Additional questions on the budget? The number 2 is a motion to approve the 2020 Community Child Fatality Prevention Team Annual Report. And again, this is presented to you and must be approved by the board by statute. Number 3, motion to adopt Resolution 2021-16, a resolution allowing the use of pyrotechnics by Artificier Incorporated at the town of Pikeville on July 3rd, 2021. Then number 4 is a motion to award request for bid replacing a chiller with split heat units for the Wayne County Public Library. And the bids are on page 64 and 65. Number 5 is a motion to award for hazard mitigation program acquisition project for demolition and asbestos removal to AK Grading and Demolition and Corbett Clearing and Demolition, the lowest responsible bidders. And again, this is the clearing up of basically 20 homes with demolition and asbestos removal due to the HMGP program. I think this is still under Matthew or Florence? This is Matthew. So good to see this getting done. And then number 6, motion to adopt Resolution 2021-17, a resolution transferring pyrotechnic permitting for displays and exhibits within the city of Goldsboro to the city of Goldsboro. And basically, we're, at this point, we have been responsible for providing permits for all the county, but now we're going to shift that responsibility for pyrotechnics to the city of Goldsboro for any activities within inside the city.
Just the city of Goldsboro?
Just the city, yes, sir. And then we had our, after consent agenda, new business. Number one, the funding agreement with Fremont Elementary that Carol passed out to you. Then we have public comments, county manager's report, board of commissioners committee reports, closed session, and adjournment. And I do want to recognize former Commissioner Ed Cromartie.
Look at there.
It's good to see Commissioner Cromartie here, so welcome back. Good to see you, sir.
I got it, Chair. I have a quick question under
Yes, sir.
the demolition.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the bids and on contract number 8, that bid seems extremely low compared to the others. I know I had an issue with this when I was at the city, making sure that people are disposing of the materials properly. And, you know, we had some issues, and I think it was with this same company. For that bid to be that low, I just questioned to make sure that he's disposing of things properly, in a proper manner. I mean, you know, he's almost $50,000 under the next bidder. You know, that's questionable to me. So I just wonder, do we have anything in our policies and procedures that states that they are disposing of materials properly in the proper manner and everything that's going on?
Didn't the number of
Properties.
the number of pieces of partials determine the reason there's that much of a spread?
He's talking about for everybody else. He's talking about, go over one guy. He's talking about our staff, their piece here, the next little.
Okay, all right, I see it, you're right.
We'll make, Commissioner Foster, we'll make sure that they are monitored and everything's cleaned up and done like, and disposed of properly. Yes, sir.
Do we have anything in our policy?
Yeah, it's in the FEMA policy when they sign the grant. It has to meet FEMA requirements. So we have a person that's in charge specifically for demolition that monitors it on a daily basis.
Like I said, I know this company personally, and I've had some dealings with them when I was with the city, and they weren't disposing of things properly, and that's why their bids were so low, because they were dumping off-site somewhere and not disposing of everything properly. So I would just want to make sure that that's not happening here with the county as well.
Mr. Chair?
So,
I want to go back to the pyrotechnics. Is there a reason why we're deciding to allow the city of Goldsboro to handle that?
It's really a rubber stamp process. You just have to follow, very basic safety guidelines. And it's just, once that's done, it's usually just a rubber stamp. So we were just going to let the city do that, let them handle their own and their own paperwork and their own monitoring of that.
If it's just a rubber stamp, I don't know why we just didn't continue to do it, because we're going to be getting fees for those permits, correct?
Not enough fees to, it very rarely happens, but sometimes there is issues that do arise, so we're kind of letting, the city be responsible for that inside their city limits. They do have the staffing, they have a fire marshal and inspections that they'll be able to handle themselves.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And that's all we have at this point.
Okay, does any other commissioners have anything they'd like to add?
I do got one. I understand, Ray, you had a visitor over the weekend?
Yes, sir. Dropped a lot of water in my office, actually.
Oh, did? Okay.
We were there working on this morning, trying to vacuum the water up.
Oh, Lord.
It's been, I think, leaking for a couple of days, actually.
Oh, really?
Anyone else?
I'd just like to know, Mr. Chair, I'd like to know the status of the discussion we had pertaining to the paving of that particular area that I discussed prior. I know Chip knows the area that I discussed. We had the signatures of
Street repaving.
yes.
it's still in a hold pattern. Again, it would be a board decision, if we are to do it and to begin assessing property. I think we would probably have to go back. Number one, the board needs to say this is a policy we want to do and continue, because it would be something we would have to fund from our general fund for reimbursement over a 10-year time frame. So we'd have to hire engineers and bid it out the whole 9 yards. But I would suggest we would probably have to go back and redo the surveys, since it's been probably 3 to 4 years or 5 years surveys for street assessment. Yeah, the property owners may have changed during the time, that people may have changed their mind. So you would have to probably go back and redo the entire process again, because I think probably too much time had passed for the applications to still be valid.
Yeah, but this particular application was already approved, for me getting here. And they've already had the signatures of everybody. And so now we're going to be starting the process all over again when they were told that they were approved.
Well, I think part of that, it goes back to the board. They've kind of not, at the time we did that one project, and there's not been a lot of, it would have to be a board policy to move forward if we wanted to do it again.
So I'll try to put that on the agenda so the board can discuss it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Do we have time to go into closed session?
Here.
Okay.
To discuss purchase of property, discuss businesses that might come into the county, and to consult with your attorneys to preserve attorney-client privilege.
Okay. I have a motion to go in closed session. What Chris did, but Commissioner Williams didn't hear me. He didn't say it loud enough for me. All in favor, show sign of right hand.